What if I told you there's a universe almost identical to ours, where every single person on Earth shares the same dream every night? Not similar dreams, not dreams with common themes, the exact same dream. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and realizing that bizarre dream you just had. Your neighbor had it too. So did your co-worker. So did everyone in Tokyo and Toronto and Tanzania. Welcome to Earth-53321, where the global dream network isn't science fiction. It's just how brains work. Now, the science here is beautifully simple. In this parallel Earth, human consciousness evolved with a quantum entanglement feature. When we enter REM sleep, our minds sync up through some mechanism their scientists are still studying. Every night, without fail, all 8 billion people experience the same narrative, same characters, same plot, same weird logic that only makes sense while you're asleep. Think about what this does to their society. Every morning, the whole world wakes up with the same conversation starter. There's no, "Did you have any weird dreams?" Instead it's, "Can you believe we were all flying purple elephants last night?" Small talk? Completely revolutionized. Their media evolved completely differently than ours. The morning news doesn't just report current events, it reports current dreams. There are dream meteorologists who try to predict themes, dream critics who review the quality of last night's shared experience. Sports commentators argue about whether the collective unconscious is losing its creativity. 1-star rating. We were just filing taxes in alphabetical order for 6 hours. But here's where it gets darker. Imagine everyone having the same nightmare. And I mean everyone. The entire human population waking up terrified, having just experienced the same traumatic scenario. Their world has dream therapists, sure, but they're dealing with planetary-scale PTSD events. After a particularly disturbing shared dream, productivity drops globally. Support groups form. Governments issue mental health statements. Nobody can escape it by just not talking to anyone. You were there. They were there. Everyone was there. Romance works differently too. Everyone has shared dreams with literally everyone, including people they've never met in waking life. You might fall in love with someone in a dream, and then months later recognize them at a coffee shop. "Haven't we met before?" isn't a pickup line. It's a genuine philosophical question about the nature of experience. Let's think about their history. Before written language, before any form of mass communication, humans in this world already had a shared cultural experience every single night. Ancient civilizations didn't need to wonder if other tribes were human like them. They knew, because they'd been having the same dreams. You can't really see someone as a complete stranger when you've been sharing the same nightly adventure with them since birth. Anthropologists in that world believe this created unprecedented cooperation between early human groups, because you tend to understand people better when you've literally experienced their perspective every night. Crime and punishment get philosophically messy. If someone commits a terrible act, but that night everyone dreams from the criminal's perspective, experiencing their memories, their pain, their reasoning, does that change justice? Their criminal justice system had to evolve around the fact that empathy isn't optional. You can't choose not to understand someone's point of view, because the dream network might decide to show you anyway. Juries are complicated. Children grow up completely differently. Imagine learning about the world not just through your own experiences, but through a nightly educational program everyone attends. Kids learn empathy faster because they've experienced life from thousands of perspectives by the time they're 10. But they also have to learn dream literacy, understanding that the shared dream isn't always literal and that symbolic meanings don't translate directly to reality. Yes, they literally have Dream Interpretation 101 as a required subject in elementary school, right between math and recess. Religion in this world took a fascinating turn. Most faiths interpret the shared dream as evidence of a collective soul, or a universal consciousness, or God's nightly message to humanity. But here's the thing. They can't really argue about whose interpretation is correct, because everyone had the exact same experience. Religious debate shifted from, "This is what God said to me," to, "This is what God said to all of us, and here's what I think it means." Interfaith dialogue is significantly easier when everyone's working from the same primary source material. Philosophers have had a field day. In our world, we debate whether consciousness is individual or if there's something connecting us all. In their world, that question was answered before philosophy even began. But they have new questions. Is the waking world more real than the dream world? If you spend 8 hours dreaming and 16 hours awake, but the dream is shared by everyone, which reality is more valid? Some philosophers argue with the dreams, and the dream is the waking reality. These philosophers are not invited to parties. Art and creativity evolved in bizarre directions. Every artist has the same inspiration every night, so the competition isn't about who has the most unique vision. It's about who can interpret the shared vision most interestingly. Imagine if every musician woke up with the same melody in their head, and the art was in how they arranged it. Every writer starts with the same dream plot, but makes it their own through style and detail. Originality isn't dead. It just means something different. Entertainment is wonderfully weird. Movies and books often adapt popular dreams from months or years ago. Everyone already knows the plot, so storytelling focuses on execution and interpretation. It's like if every film was a remake, but nobody complains, because they want to see different takes on the same material. Critics debate which adaptation captured the essence of the dream best. And spoilers? Not a thing. Everyone's already lived the story. Their technology developed around dream research. Instead of social media, they have dream databases where people log their interpretations and feelings about each night's experience. Scientists study the patterns obsessively. Can we predict tomorrow's dream? What determines the content? Is it true collective unconscious, or is there some mechanism selecting the narrative? Some researchers believe the dreams are influenced by collective human experience, so global events actually change dream content. When something major happens in their world, that night's dream often reflects it, processed through surreal symbolism. But here's a disturbing thought. Privacy, as we understand it, doesn't fully exist in that world. You can have private waking thoughts, sure, but 1/3 of your life is spent in a space where your consciousness mingles with everyone else's. You can't opt out. You can't choose not to share this experience. Some people find this comforting, this proof that we're all connected. Others find it claustrophobic, this inability to ever be truly alone inside your own head. Of course, where there's a shared resource, there's someone trying to control it. Throughout their history, governments and powerful groups have tried to manipulate dream content. If you could influence what 8 billion people experience every night, Imagine the propaganda potential. The wars that have been fought over dream control technology, most of which, thankfully, failed. There are conspiracy theories, of course, that the dreams are being controlled, that there's some hidden mechanism determining content. But most scientists believe the phenomenon is entirely natural, just a quirk of how consciousness evolved on that particular Earth. There's also the problem of dream addiction. Some people become so invested in the dream life that they start to disengage from waking reality. When your dream life is guaranteed to be interesting, shared, and validated by everyone else, normal life can feel disappointing. Support groups exist for people who sleep too much, who stop maintaining waking world relationships, who live for the dream. The opposite problem exists too. People with insomnia are socially isolated, missing out on the universal experience, unable to participate in the conversation everyone else is having. But let's talk about what goes right in this world, because shared dreaming has created some beautiful things. Global cooperation is fundamentally easier. When every human has shared consciousness every night, nationalism and tribalism still exist, but they're tempered by this nightly reminder that we're all the same species, experiencing the same bizarre journey through existence. They've had fewer wars than our timeline, more international collaboration, faster progress on global challenges, because everyone literally shares the same concerns every night. Climate change in their world was addressed faster because the dream started featuring drowning cities and burning forests, and nobody could ignore it. Mental health, while complicated, benefits from universal validation. Nobody suffers alone. If you're going through something difficult, there's a chance the collective unconscious will process it, and suddenly 8 billion people have experienced a shadow of what you're feeling. Loneliness exists differently when you're never truly alone in your mind. Depression is still real. Anxiety is still challenging. But there's this baseline connection that can't be severed. Everyone knows what it's like to be everyone else, at least a little bit. So here's where we get philosophical. What if this isn't just a thought experiment? What if somewhere in the multiverse this world exists? And what if, just maybe, they're wondering about us? Imagining a bizarre parallel Earth where people have private dreams, where consciousness isn't shared, where we go through life never truly knowing what it's like inside someone else's head. To them, we'd be the strange ones, the isolated ones, the lonely ones. Think about your dreams last night. They were yours alone, right? A private theatre in your mind showing a film only you witnessed. But what if that privacy, that isolation we take for granted, is actually the unusual condition? What if consciousness was meant to be shared and we're the evolutionary oddity? In their world, someone waking up and saying, "I had the weirdest dream and nobody else will ever know what it was like," would be considered a symptom of neurological malfunction. Here, it's just normal. That's how we live every single night. So tonight, when you go to sleep, pay attention to your dreams. Notice that they're uniquely yours. That private universe where you're the only audience member. And maybe, just maybe, feel a little bit special about that. Or maybe feel a little bit lonely. It depends on your perspective. Because somewhere out there, in some other version of reality, 8 billion people are about to share the same impossible adventure. And the really unsettling question is this: how would you even know, for certain, which world you're in? Sweet dreams. If this made you question your reality, subscribe for more mind-bending multiverse explorations. And let me know in the comments, would you want to live in the shared dream world? Or do you prefer your private unconscious?